Hello everyone, my name is Jessica Casey, and this is my CQI project video for the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. A continuous quality improvement, or CQI, project is a systematic approach to improving the productivity, performance, and overall quality of a topic. CQI equips a team to assess a situation's structure, develop a process for improvement, and execute the plan while appraising the output and outcome for further revision. The Plan, Do, Study, Act cycle, or PDSA cycle, is a tool similar to the scientific method where you can plan and execute a CQI project. The plan portion of the PDSA cycle is when baseline data is collected. Based on the initial steps of the scientific method, the plan stage is where you generate a hypothesis on the outcome of the project. A hypothesis can be defined as an educated prediction of the relationships between variables and the outcome of a research project. The Do stage of the PDSA cycle is when the intervention is implemented. Data from the impact of the intervention is collected. Initial assessment of the intervention data is conducted. The study portion of the PDSA cycle is when the intervention data is assessed. The intervention data is compared to the baseline data to assess if the intervention was successful at reaching the goals of the plan. Roadblocks to meeting the goals are discovered. The outcome of the intervention is compared to the initial hypothesis. The data and roadblocks are assessed to look for ways to improve the intervention in the future. The Act portion of the PDSA cycle is when modifications to the initial intervention are planned for future PDSA cycles. The goal of my CQI intervention is to decrease total time on non-educational technology use to less than 1 hour per day. My hypothesis is that by decreasing my non-educational technology use, I will increase my time spent on physical activity and educational technology use. I recorded my time spent on non-educational technology use through the Your Hour phone application and manual monitoring of time spent on my laptop and television. The baseline data shows that I spent an average of 285 minutes per day on non-educational technology use during the 14-day pre-intervention period. During the planning stage of my CQI project, I developed a process map, which is a flow of how to achieve my overall goal. It also includes a decision to redirect to other activities when my goal is not met. The full process map can be found at the attached Lucidchart link. The first portion of my process map begins with the action of using technology. The subsequent steps show whether or not I have self-motivation and remembering my own goal of a maximum of 1 hour spent on non-educational technology use per day, or whether or not family and friends remind me of my goal. The second portion of my process map shows reflection if my technology use is educational or non-educational. If my technology use is educational, I can continue using the technology. If my technology use is non-educational, I decide whether or not I've spent over 1 hour on non-educational technology use in the last 24 hours. The final portion of my process map shows active redirection of non-educational technology use to education, exercise, self-improvement, or educational technology use. I begin this portion of my process map by deciding whether or not I have studied for school that day. If not, I can study or complete assignments. I decide whether or not I have exercised so far that day. If not, I engage in physical activity. I decide whether or not I have engaged in self-improvement so far that day. If not, I can engage in self-improving activities such as reading or volunteering. I then decide if I have engaged in educational technology use that day. If not, I can switch to educational technology use. At the end of this process map, if I adhere to the above stated process, I will spend less than 1 hour per day on non-educational technology use. This slide shows the baseline data collected during the planning stage. Figure 1 is a Pareto chart that shows the factors that caused me to spend more than 1 hour per day on non-educational technology use during the 14-day pre-intervention period. Figure 2 shows the baseline data and the relationship between minutes of non-educational technology use, physical activities, and educational technology use during the pre-intervention period. During the due stage of my PDSA cycle, I implemented my intervention. The intervention is monitoring non-educational technology use, self-motivation to meet my 1 hour limit, family and friends motivation, and active redirection of my time to self-improvement as outlined in my process map. During the intervention period, I spent an average of 58 minutes per day on non-educational technology use. I spent an average of 114 minutes per day on physical activity. I spent an average of 121 minutes per day on educational technology use. This slide shows the data during the interventional period. In Figure 3, the relationship between minutes of non-educational technology use, physical activity, and educational technology use is charted. My non-educational technology use decreased by 227 minutes per day during the intervention period. My physical activity decreased by 22.5 minutes per day. My educational technology use increased by 8 minutes per day. My hypothesis that decreasing non-educational technology use would increase time spent on physical activity and educational technology use was partially correct. My educational technology use did increase, but my physical activity decreased. The day that I exceeded my goal of 1 hour per day of non-educational technology use, I also had the lowest physical activity. The roadblocks to meeting my goal were a lack of self-motivation and non-adherence to the process map redirection. In future PDSA cycles, I should record other self-improvement activities, such as reading or schoolwork, to better determine where my time was allocated when not spent on non-educational technology use. Future cycles would require strict adherence to the process map of redirecting personal time from non-educational technology use towards self-improvement. In future cycles, I could set a goal of further decreasing time spent on non-educational technology use. The Agency for Healthcare Research and Quality and the Institute of Healthcare Research both were resources I used for the information in the previous video. Thank you very much for your time watching my CQI project video.